Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's lovely to be here. As you know, we've taken a break recently from the training to allow Richard to have some time off because Richard has been working like an absolute demon for this last 12 months to achieve the phenomenal success that he's achieved in this business. As you know, Richard is one of now only 3 directors in our business, which it's a staggering achievement and one which I aspire to, and I think one which we should all aspire to get where Richard is in such a short space of time. Richard is very much an inspiration to me, and I think he's a very inspirational leader. Now, what I want to cover today with you all is a topic that, as Richard said, is close to his heart, but it's also close to my heart. It's about mindset. And briefly, what we're going to cover today is a little bit about mindset and mentality. And we're going to ask really, are you actually ever going to achieve all you want in life? Some people, you'll notice that some people do achieve everything they ever want and some people don't. And you may think this is down to luck or circumstance or your upbringing or whatever. None of that is true. Absolutely none of that is true. It is everything to do with the mindset of the individual. There are people who were born into wealth who haven't got it, have lost it, simply because they haven't got the mindset to keep it. However, there are other people who were born into absolute abject poverty who are now multimillionaires and billionaires because they have the right mindset to get them there. And so what we're going to talk about today is a little bit about that. It's the mindset and the mentality of how you actually achieve the things you want in life. So I'm going to talk about this through an illustrative process. I want to talk about a fellow called Tony, who, as Richard said, I'm in another business. And over the 13 years that I've been in that business, I've met some proper characters. And you know, the reality is that those characters, they bring things to the table that highlight things. One of those characters was a guy called Tony, and Tony was a guy I once had a conversation with, and I did this actually in a live call because I had this conversation with him privately. And I said to Tony, I said, look, I'd like to have this conversation on a live call. Would you do that? And he said, yeah, that's no problem, because he was a bit of a lad. This is not a picture of Tony, by the way, but to be fair, Tony came from an Italian background. He looked a bit like this. And I once had a conversation with Tony, and I said to Tony, what car do you want to buy, Tony? And he said in his broad London accent, I don't know, something flash. So I said, okay, you want a flash car. That's great. And I said, Tony, what house do you want to live in? What house do you want? He said, I don't know, something big because I've got kids. I said, all right, how many kids have you got, Tony? He said, I've got 3 kids. I went, yeah, that's great. Okay. So you want a big house to accommodate the kid? Yeah, I want a big house. So I said, Tony, how much money do you actually want to earn every month? And his response was, I don't know, just lots of money. I went, okay, great. You want to earn lots of money? I said, how many holidays do you want to take each year, Tony? And he said, I don't know, plenty, because I work hard and I need lots of holidays. I went, great. I understand that. I get that. I said, how exactly do you want to travel to those holidays, Tony? And he said, I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I don't want to fly cattle class anymore. I've had enough of that. I said, all right, yeah, that's fair enough. And I said, Tony, how many people do you want in your team, in your business? And his response was, I don't know, thousands, absolutely thousands. So this is how my conversation with Tony went. Every time I asked him a question, he said, I don't know, and gave me a brief description, if you like, of what he thought he wanted. But you'll notice that he prefaced everything with, I don't know, 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 I don't know. So interestingly, there was another girl in my business called Rachel. Again, this is not a picture of Rachel, but she looked a little bit like this. And I had the very same conversation with Rachel. And when I spoke to Rachel, I asked her exactly the same questions. And this is how that conversation went. I said, Rachel, what car do you want to buy? And she said to me, this car. It was a Maserati GT Sport. And she said, I've test driven it twice. I've specified the colour. I know the price. I know the dealership I'm going to get it from. I know what the lead time is from the point of order to the point of delivery. She said, this is the car that I want. I said, that's great. What sort of house do you want to live in, Rachel? She said, I absolutely know the house that I want to live in. I know where the location is that I want to live. I know who the designer is because I've been following him. And I know what the price and spec will be of my house because I've written it down and I've spoken to the designer to get that price and spec. So I went, that's amazing. That's really, really great. I said, okay, well, how much money do you want to earn every month? And she said, I want to earn 60K per month. And I said, that's great. Well done. I said, how many holidays do you want to take each year, Rachel? She said, I want to take 5 holidays per year at specific times and in specific locations that I've chosen that I want to take these holidays in. I said, great. I said, and I got her to list some of the locations. They were very exotic locations. I said, how do you want to travel to those destinations, Rachel? She said, I want to travel on private jets. I've costed it out and I've chosen the company. So I know which company I'm going to use for my private jet travel. I've costed it out, I've worked it out. I went, great, it's amazing. And I said, how many people do you want in your team, Rachel? She said, I want 15,000 people. 3 years from January the 1st. So this was, when I had this conversation, it was about 2015, middle of 2015. So she said, I want 15,000 people, 3 years from January the 1st. I went, Rachel, that's absolutely amazing. So the question that I would ask you, lovely people, is what's the difference between Rachel and Tony? What's the difference? Well, the difference is that Tony is what we call a wandering generality. All right? He's a wandering generality. Whereas Rachel is a meaningful specific. Two types of people, wandering generalities and meaningful specifics. And once you've been through this training, you're going to start noticing whether you're a wandering generality or whether you're a meaningful specific. And also, you're going to notice whether people in your life and in your team are also wandering generalities or meaningful specifics. Okay? You'll start to notice these things. And I have to tell you that in the 5 years since I had the conversation with Tony, who is still a friend of mine, he hasn't achieved any of the things that he said he wanted. He hasn't achieved the flash car, the big house, the loads of money, the massive team, the holidays, etc., etc. He's achieved absolutely none of them. And the reason is because Tony had no real concept or understanding of the things he wanted, as he'd never attempted to make them real. So they were just always dreams in his mind. So he wandered around the world with no aim or goal because he generalized everything with words like, I don't know, big, flash, thousands, okay? Whereas Rachel, I have to tell you, she actually achieved it all and more. In my other company, there are 9 people who earn 6 figures a month. Rachel's one of them, okay? She's based in Missouri, in America, and she now earns 6 figures a month. And she's achieved everything that she set down because Rachel knew exactly what she wanted. She not only dreamed, which is great, but she turned those dreams into a reality by touching and feeling and experiencing the things that she wanted to have in life. Because she was a meaningful specific, whereas Tony was a wandering generality. Rachel spent her time quantifying things down to the last detail. She made a manifest of those things that she wanted by being very, very specific about those things, okay? And if you look up the word manifest, it means that something is clear or obvious to the eye or the mind. And we also know that we have this third eye called the mind's eye, or the eye of the mind. And if you make it obvious to your mind's eye as well, it becomes even more powerful than it already is. So the best demonstration I can give you of how the universe, if you like, treats wandering generalities as opposed to meaningful specifics is the car salesman illustration. So here we are. This is Tony. He's gone to the car salesman. He wants to buy a car, and the car salesman is you know, very young, very keen to impress his boss, keen to make the sales figures. So he bounds up to Tony full of hope and joy because he's sniffed a potential sale, and he says, "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" And Tony said, "Yeah, I'd like to buy a car." Okay. And the salesman says, "Excellent, sir. Now, what sort of car did you have in mind?" And Tony said, "I don't know. Something flash though." And as soon as Tony said this, in the mind of the car salesman, he's gone, how do I help this guy? I haven't got a clue what this guy wants, because this guy hasn't got a clue himself what he wants. So I can't help him. Okay? And the universe is a little bit like this. You have to be specific, because if you're not specific, you're never going to achieve the things you want in life. And you're not only not going to help yourself to get those things, but you're not going to help other people around you help you get those things, because you don't know. How can you achieve something when you don't know what it is you want to achieve? By contrast, if Rachel went to the car salesman, this is how the conversation would go. The car salesman, again, full of joy and hope, would bound up and say, "Good morning, madam. How can I help you today?" And Rachel would say, "Hello, I'd like to buy a car." The salesman said, "Lovely. What did you have in mind, madam?" And Rachel would say, "I had a test drive the other day of the BMW M5 3.5 diesel in silver mist colour with a black leather interior, alloy, 5-spoke wheels, Bembo brakes, and I want the winter pack and the comfort pack added, please. I want the rear sunroof as an optional extra, and I want the new iDrive system included, and I'd like to have the car delivered by November the 1st, please." And the salesman going, "I think I have that very vehicle in stock. If you'd like to take a seat, can I get you a tea or coffee while I check?" So you now see the difference, okay? It's far, far easier for the universe to help you get what you want, to manifest what you want in life, if you're very, 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 very specific about it, okay? So wandering generalities never specify the things they want. They never research the things that they want. They never touch those things to make them real, okay? They never price up the things that they want. They don't know how much they cost, okay? They never make plans to purchase those things. That's a key thing. They never make a plan to purchase those things. And we're going to come on to that in a little while. They never make dates on which they will buy those things, okay? They never make dates about when they're going to buy those things. And they never keep on touching those things until they're real. So let's just recap. They never specify the things they want. They never research, they never touch, they never price up, they never make plans, they never make dates. They never keep on touching those things to keep the reality of those things front and center in their minds and in their mind's eye. On the other hand, meaningful specifics always specify the things that they want. They always research the things that they want. They always touch those things to make them real. They always price up those things that they want. That's key. They price them up so they know what they cost. Based upon those prices, they then make plans to purchase those things. Okay. And based upon their plans to purchase those things, they make dates on which they will buy those things. Now, those last 3 points are leading into something called reverse engineering, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So they touch those things, so they specify, they research, they touch them, and they keep on touching those things until they're really real. So in contrast to wandering generalities, meaningful specifics always specify, research, touch, price up, make plans, make dates, and keep on touching those things until those things are absolutely real in their lives, till they manifest in their lives. So they are the complete polar opposite of wandering generalities. And more importantly, meaningful specifics are always reverse engineering. And this is leading into goal setting, because this is where we're going with this. Being in a meaningful specific and specifying and researching and pricing and touching and setting dates to buy, setting dates for delivery, lead you to reverse engineer your life. You set your life goals, the things you want in life, and reverse engineer them into your life. And that your life goals lead into your business goals. Okay, your life goals force you to set your business goals. So one, people who are meaningful specifics always reverse engineer. So the first thing they do is they set a goal, and most importantly, as Richard has trained again and again, and he's absolutely right, they make it SMART. Well, what does SMART mean? It means the goal is specific. Now, a specific goal is, I want to buy an expensive car. That's not a specific goal. That's not how a meaningful specific would operate. A meaningful specific would say, I want to buy this make and model of car with this specification, with this engine, with this interior, with this hi-fi, with this gearbox, etc., etc. They would be very, 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 very specific about it. Okay, they set a goal and make it specific. They make the goal measurable. Okay, they measure what they do, what they've got to do, and what they're doing to get there. It must be achievable. It's no good setting a goal today that I want to buy a Porsche and then saying next week. That's not achievable at all. Okay, it's not achievable. Therefore, it's not relevant. It's not realistic. Okay, goals must be achievable and realistic. Okay, I had a call with somebody in the team yesterday, and I said to the guy, you know, he'd struggled a bit building his CASHFX business, and he finally realized that actually Power Build is the way to go. And I said to him, okay, now let's set some SMART goals. And he said, I'm going to put 1,000 people into my business by January the 1st. I went, that's an absolutely fabulous goal to have, but let's see if it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, realistic, and see if it's time sensitive as well. In other words, can we do it within the time? So we reverse engineered his goal, and we worked out that we'd have to talk to 250,000 people a month to get to that 1,000 people by the 1st of January. So he realized in that moment that his goal that he'd reverse engineered was not SMART. It wasn't achievable or realistic within the time frame. So we re-engineered his goal. And his re-engineered goal was to put 75 people into his business, personally into his business by the 1st of January, which was a much more specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, relevant, time-sensitive goal. Richard has spoken about this time and time and time and time again. And if you want to know how powerful SMART goals are, look at Richard. Look at what he's done in 12 months by creating SMART goals for himself. Richard is a meaningful specific, very much a meaningful specific. And many other leaders in the CASHFX business are meaningful specifics. And meaningful specifics are always reverse engineering. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. So they set a goal and make it smart. They visualize and affirm that goal. In other words, they go out and they feel it and they touch it. They make it real in their mind and their senses, etc. You know, the first time I had caviar in my life, I didn't know what to expect. But I was lucky enough to try some with some very fine champagne once. And I found back then that I really enjoyed it. I found it very, very pleasurable. Okay. I would have never have known that unless I'd actually gone and done that and felt it and experienced it and touched it. Okay. Then what they reverse engineer the goal and they make a map to the goal. They write down what they've got to do to get to that goal. Then they follow their map and they follow these maps without deviation or delay. Okay. Because prevarication and delay will just push your goal out of reach. Okay. If you set a goal and it's smart, it's specific, achievable, realistic, etc., etc., then don't deviate from it and don't delay. Fix it. Okay, fix the date that you're going to get that thing. Fix the date it's going to be delivered into your life. Then reverse engineer it and take the actions to get there. Okay, so don't stop. Meaningful specifics, once they set a goal and visualize and affirm it and reverse engineer it and set a map to it, they don't stop ever. I've been working now with Richard for nearly 5 months, getting on for 4.5 months. And I've spoken to him early in the morning, through the day and late at night, because he doesn't stop. He recently took a couple of weeks off because he'd achieved the one big goal that he set down for himself as a meaningful specific. Okay, he'd achieved it. So that was the time for him to take a break, not during the process of acquiring that goal. He did not stop. He was on it and 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 on it. I like to think that I'm one of those guys who's always on it. And I rarely meet people who are on it as much as me, and Richard's one of those people. He is a meaningful specific who reverse engineers every goal in his life, visualizes it, follows the map and doesn't stop ever. Ever. He's reverse engineered his success. Just think about this. Richard is one of 3 people in CASHFX who has achieved President's Club. John, his enroller, is not in the President's Club. Yet John enrolled Richard, and Richard he knew what he wanted. He wanted the Porsche. From the first day that I met Richard in this business, again, I've known Richard for many years. The first day I reconnected with Richard, he showed me the business. On the second day, we talked about goals. He told me about the Porsche. He showed me the Porsche in the back office and the leadership prizes. He said, this is what I'm going for. I'm a director now. I want to be President's Club within 12 months of joining this business. And he achieved that because he's a meaningful specific. He knew exactly where he wanted to be, on what date and what time, and he reverse engineered that into his life. Okay? Because he set goals, visualized them. He went and test drove the Porsche. He knew exactly what specification he wanted. Absolutely knew everything about it. His goal was a Porsche. It was a smart goal. He made it a smart goal. It was, specific, achievable, realistic, time sensitive, and very smart goal. He test drove Porsches. So he went out and visualized it and affirmed it in his life. Richard talks in his training about goal setting, about visual affirmation. I'm very much about visceral affirmation. In other words, go and touch and feel the thing that you want in your life. If you want a Bentley, go out and test drive a Bentley. Get some pictures of you in the car. Get some video of you in the car, okay? And put that on a bit vision board, whether that be on your computer or on your wall, whatever. Have it in your front of your vision at every moment of your working day. He reverse engineered that, Paul. In other words, he made a map of how he was going to go from joining the business with no people in his team all the way to the Porsche. He knew from day one how he was going to get there, the direction he was going to take, the twists and turns that he would make, the decisions he would make along the way to get to that goal. Okay? And he followed that map. He followed that map without deviation and without delay. I'm here to tell you, nothing would get in the way of Richard. And nothing will get in the way of you if you become a meaningful, specific, and set smart goals, affirm them, reverse engineer them, and make a map to those goals. And again, I tell you, he didn't stop ever. Didn't stop ever. The amount of times that I've called Richard and he just sent me a nice polite message saying, sod off, I'm doing something, I'm on a call, I'm with this person, I'm doing this, I'm on this, I'm doing this. He wouldn't let me get in the way of his goals. And I like to think I'm his second wife, which is what my wife calls Richard. She thinks I'm my work wife. But he would not even let me get in the way of his goals. That's what meaningful, specific people do. If he was a wandering generality, he would have never, ever achieved the President's Club and never, ever achieved the Porsche. Not in a million years. Now, I know that there are many of you who want to get to the first level in the business, okay, which is executive. I also know that the vast majority of you haven't even set a smart goal to get there. You haven't got a plan. You haven't touched it, felt it, visualized it. And again, it's the car salesman. You know, you walk into the car sales showroom, the car salesman says, good morning, how can I help you today? And you say, I'm here to drive X model. Then I'd like to sit down and specify the vehicle I'm planning to buy and have that delivered by exact date. This is how you start to visualize and affirm your life goals, okay? So what I'm going to recommend you do, sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, okay, ring up the car dealership that sells the dream car. Ring them up and say, I'd like to book a test drive in that car. Some of them will even lend you the car for a couple of days, okay, depending on the value. You can do 24-hour test drives, 48-hour test drives. Don't be afraid to ask for those, okay? Many car dealerships will do it, okay? Go, take a friend. If you can't take a friend, talk to the car salesman and say, look, I want to test drive this car. He said, look, I'd be delighted to help. Let me just get the key for our demonstrator. Do you think he's going to turn you away if you walk in for a test drive? Of course he's not. He's not going to do that because he's sniffing a sale. And then you say, oh, by the way, do you mind if I film this for my own personal record? And would you be so kind as to take a picture of me in the driving seat? He's not going to say, go away. He's going to say, no problem. And yes, I'd be delighted to take your picture in the car. Okay. Now, I was talking about this to somebody the other day and she said, well, I feel a bit rude going to the car dealership and test driving it, knowing that I'm not going to buy it there and then. Who cares? Who cares? You're just putting up objections that are not objections. You're just creating reasons not to go and do something. The salesman is there to facilitate. He's getting paid to facilitate that test drive for you. Okay. And he knows that you may not buy that car today. He knows, because he might ask you, say, when are you planning to buy the car? And you could be honest with him and say, look, I want the car delivered by this date. That's when I'm planning to buy the car. And it might be 6 months down the road and it might be 12 months down the road. That does not matter. What matters is that if your dream car is a Bentley, you go to the Bentley dealership, you drive the Bentley, you take a picture of you in the Bentley, you put it on your wall, put it on your computer, set it up as your desktop wallpaper so that it's there as a visual reminder and a visual affirmation of your smart goal every day. And then you do the same with the house that you want to live. Go and view it, take pictures, get pictures of you in it. Visualize and affirm that smart goal. Okay, specify what colors you want, what materials you want in the car and in the house. Write those things down. Doesn't mean to say your specification can't change, but put a specification down. Price those things up. okay? Make sure you know the cost of those things. Once you've got the cost and you know when you want it, now you can begin to reverse engineer that back into your business life and go, okay, if I want that Bentley on X date, what have I got to do in my business to get me there? Now start to reverse engineer that. How much money have I got to be earning every month to afford the lease on that car if I'm going to lease it? Okay. How much have I got to earn every month to be able to do that? Reverse engineer your life goals into your business goals, and you'll find that this sets the plan and the path for your business. That creates the map. Then once you've got your map in your hand, you know your destination, you know what time you've got to be there, and you can set that map into action. Don't ever stop. The amount of times in my life that I've gone into car dealerships, and I even went into an aeroplane dealership once because I bought a plane and I got a test flight in the plane. Okay. So whatever you want in life, go and visualize it and feel it and affirm it. Okay. Don't be afraid to do that. The car salesman is there to service you. He knows he may not service you today, tomorrow, next week, next month. And if you tell him it's going to be 8 months down the road, he'll write that in his book. And I guarantee in 8 months, he's going to give you a call and say, are you ready to buy your car now? Because he's looking for those future sales. That's his job. Now, some of the smart people amongst you, the bright-eyed people amongst you, will have noticed that when I was talking to Rachel, all of the things that she had on her vision board that she'd set smart goals for had dates. So what are those dates about, Rachel? Well, a goal without a date is just a dream. That's all it is. Putting the date on the thing you want and the date that you're going to have that in your life is the key to the reverse engineering, because now you're specifying whether this goal is a smart goal. And as I said earlier, if you say I'm going to drive a Maserati next week, that's not a smart goal. It's not achievable or realistic. It might be specific, but it ain't achievable or realistic in the time. Okay. But if you say, okay, I'm going to have the Maserati by then, what you can then do is you can say, okay, now let me reverse engineer that. Is that achievable and realistic? Can I build my business? You know, what have I got to do in my business to get my business to that point in 2 years so I can drive that Maserati, or I can drive that Bentley, or that I can travel on private jets, or that I can take 5 holidays a year. Okay. Some of you will have noticed that Rachel knew specifically how many people she needed to have in her team by a specific date in order to achieve all the other 5 things. That's the key. She's a meaningful specific. She sets smart goals. She puts dates on them. I have to tell you, she had 4 meetings with the designer of the house that she wants, a very well-known designer in America, Danish guy actually, and she went and had 4 meetings with him. She now lives in a house designed by him. It's not a massive house, okay? But it's a beautiful house in Mission Viejo in California, which is a beautiful area. And she's got a house designed by this guy, this architect, because she knew exactly what she wanted. She knew exactly what she wanted because she's a meaningful specific and not a wandering generality. So I will encourage you to be a meaningful specific. I'm a meaningful specific. Richard is a meaningful specific. I've got people in my team who are meaningful specifics. And the more you adopt the mentality of a meaningful specific in your life, the faster you will achieve everything you want in life. The faster you will achieve everything in life. I hope that's been both useful and inspiring to you, and that you can now go out and test drive your luxury car that you wish to buy, and go and look at your new house that you wish to live in, and look at some of the destinations that you want to go and travel to, maybe even talk to a private jet company. Do you know what? A lot of the private jet companies will actually actually show you around the aircraft, and even some of them will take you on a little test flight just to show you what it's like. Because again, they're like car salesmen. They want to sell you that product. They will show it to you, okay? Don't be afraid to go and ask for those things, because if you never go and experience or touch those things, you may never, ever be able to specify and become that meaningful specific that you want, okay? Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. What I would encourage you to do now is to go out and do these things and inspire yourself and your team by posting pictures in your chat groups and in your Facebook pages and everywhere. Affirm it publicly. You know, if somebody sent me a picture of them sitting in a Bentley, that would excite the hell out of me, because I know that person's a meaningful specific. Go and touch your dreams, go and feel your dreams, set smart goals, as Richard says, and you will achieve everything in your life. Thank you very much for your time, and back to you, Richard.
Thanks, Ray. Brilliant training as always. Hopefully you all see and understand what Ray is trying to ram home here. The importance of having that belief in what you're doing. And that's the key thing. If you are going to a dealership or whatever, you know, don't go there sheepishly thinking, oh, you know, I'm wasting the person's time, as Ray's already said. You know, you go there with the understanding that you are going to have that car. You know, it's not an if, a doubt. You are going to get that car. And, you know, Ray touched on things that I do all the time across the board. You know, for example, I have, you know, a dream house that I want to have, and I can tell you the specification of that house from top to bottom. And it's not, you know, a maybe. It's, you know, when, you know, that's when I'm getting the house, you know, in this time frame. I know the exact specification. I'm looking on Rightmove a lot of the time. It's quite funny because my wife, she sees me doing this often, and she says, you know, why are you doing that? It's a waste of time. It really is not a waste of time. It is so important that you do this, because this is the things that motivate you. I'm really into hi-fi, very high-end hi-fi. I love being able to actually hear the musicians in the room and that sort of thing. I know a lot of people think it's absolutely crazy the sort of money you can spend on a hi-fi system, but you know, I've been listening to £1 million hi-fi systems because I'm going to have one day. And I know when I'm going to get it as well. And I know exactly the spec that I want and everything else. So I really do go into that kind of detail, and then I work back from there, which is so important. So when you're going and visiting these showrooms, and as I said, I go along and you know, and I tell the person that, you know, it's not right now, but I am going to buy a system, this system or something similar in the coming year or so, once this and this happens. So I'm very upfront with them. I explain to them the way it is, and you know, they understand that, and they show it to me, and they regularly call me to say, you know, how's it going? How are things going? So I give them an update, etc. So it's real to me. You know, this is not just fantasy. It is real, and I'm working towards that. Now, the key thing though with these kinds of goals is that they are the top of the mountain. Okay, and the problem with the top of the mountain is it's very difficult to sort of, you look at the top of the mountain, that's a long way off, and so therefore you don't actually do anything. It can be almost too far out of reach. But what I've learned is that you set those ultimate goals, you then work back, as Ray said, and you break it down into small steps. You know, when you first join CASHFX, what are your first steps? Your first steps are to introduce your first 3 people. Your next goal is to get to executive, you know, and once you get to executive, you're then looking to see who are going to be the executives in your team to help you get to manager, and you work with those people to achieve that, and so on and so forth. You know, we've got, you know, I think 15 directors in the team now, which is half the directors in the world in CASHFX. And these are all people that are very specific in what they wanted. You know, they're now looking to get to president themselves. They want the Porsche. So it's that next stage, that next stage. So when you climb a mountain, you don't just leap to the top of the mountain. you go, right, I'm going to get to base camp. Once I get to base camp, then I'm going to go to camp 1, and so on and so forth. Break the journey down into small moves, small sections. If you do that, then you'll achieve it, and you'll get closer and closer to your ultimate goals, which is where you want to be. So these are the ultimate goals, but they are achievable. And remember, you are in a business model that will get you these goals. We really are in a remarkable place with CASHFX. And those of you that have seen, maybe I do often do presentations sort of separately where we talk about the business and the potential and everything else, not just the business overview, but sort of the reality of the business. If you do your due diligence on CASHFX, you can see that they're setting this up to be a long-term project. And everything they're doing is bang on the nail. We're about to get copy trading. We're about to get the government accredited training program, et cetera, which is going to make building this business like shooting fish in a barrel when that happens. But again, you want to build now, because if you build now, get to the highest position you can in the business, then what you're going to see is once we get copy trading and stuff, your business will explode, which will accelerate you through to the next goals that you've got. And you really do have the right vehicle to enable you to make money. There are leaders in the business now that are already making 6-figure monthly incomes after just a year. And those leaders will go on to be making millions of dollars a month and potentially millions of dollars a week, the way this is going. In fact, Justin and Luigi was telling me that their 100K pack is completing every 13 days now. So you can understand where they're going to be. And, and I've always looked at those guys, they're just 6 months ahead of me. So I'm 6 months behind this. Same thing with my leaders that have gone director in the business. They're just 6 months behind me. What I'm earning now, they'll be earning in 6 months, as long as they keep pushing, and so on and so forth. And you just can go right the way back through to the executives, see where they are, the people that are working there, getting themselves up to manager, and then how their business grows from there. So we really do have the vehicle that if your dreams are, as I said, I know the house that I want. It's not a cheap house, let me tell you. It's going to be a house with a lot of land, and because my wife really loves her horses and stuff. So I've already achieved one of my goals, for example, getting the Porsche. In fact, literally this morning I was placing it on order, and I'm going to be picking it up next week. And my next goal is to get to ambassador before the event in November. And again, that's a Ferrari that the company's giving me. It's quite remarkable when you see that. But these goals may seem a long way off for you, but they're genuinely not. These are things that you can get to with CASHFX if you apply yourself, if you treat it like a real business. As Ray pointed out then, I work very, very long hours. And the reason I do that is because, well, when I was in the corporate world, I used to work long hours, not as long and hard as I work now, I have to say. But, I was getting paid, a significant amount of money every year. But every year I was having to start all over again. So at the beginning of the year, I was back to square one. And I was going to have to prove myself again the following year. If I didn't do it, I could lose my job. If I did, pat on the back, you make a lot of money. But January, bang, straight back to square one again. Same with most traditional businesses I see. I've got friends that are very successful. They make a lot of money from their traditional business, but they can never leave that business. They're trapped in it. Very often, they are the business. So they can't even sell the business because they're needed to make the business work. So they're forever on this treadmill of making sure they've got the next sale, the next sale, the next sale. In CASHFX, it doesn't work like that. You build hard for a year, 2 years, and you're done. You don't have to work anymore. I know people in network marketing that make millions of dollars a month in, month out. No one even knows they're in the business. No one's got a clue they're in the business. They're one of the top incomers. Obviously, whilst they were building, they were, upfront and, doing everything that needed to be done. But once they had achieved their goals, they slowly drifted away from the business. And now no one even knows they're in the business. They're getting their monthly income every month, which is millions of dollars, so really nice. But the fact is they're not actually having to work anymore. So it's one of the big motivators for me. Always has been. I don't mind working all the hours under the sun, as long as I know that I'm not going to have to be doing that for the rest of my life. Work hard, really hard, for a short period of time, over a few years. If you're brand new to network marketing, it might take you 3 years to achieve those goals. If you're someone that's already experienced in network marketing, you can shorten those timeframes. You know, when I first started my network marketing career, I was terrible at network marketing. My first 6 months, I got absolutely nowhere. I had to learn how to redo things. I was trying to apply the corporate principles to network marketing, and it didn't work. So it's, you know, I had to learn to adapt, and it took me several years to become one of the top income earners in the business that I was in at that time. But I still got there. So it's the same thing with everyone. If you look at the top income earners in this business, they have very specific goals. You know, they want to get the Porsche. You know, they're often saying to me, I'm going to have that Porsche, you know, by this date, that kind of thing. I've literally had conversation with people this morning that said the same thing. So you want to become someone like that. You want to be able to be meaningful, specific, and really go out there, believe what you can achieve. You've got the vehicle with CASHFX. The market right now is perfect for any network marketing business, but particularly CASHFX, because historically, network marketing companies have done very well in times of recession. And we're potentially going to go into one of the worst recessions out there. And you know, what is our business? Our business isn't selling lotions, potions, pills. Our business is making money. And as I said, when we get the copy trading, I mean, I do literally, when I do the presentation, half the presentation is going through the due diligence. I'm not going to bother anymore once we get copy trading, because where's the risk? There's no upfront fees, no monthly fees. Your money is in a broker account. So it's your account in a broker account that you have access 24/7 to. No one else can touch that money. It is completely, it's like putting your money into a bank account. No one else can touch that money. CASHFX are trading, your account is then copying that trading. Can you imagine that product? Can you imagine when we get the EA switched on again, when we're getting returns of up to 15%? So the pitch is going to be very simple. We're making 15% a month. Fact, this is in a regulated broker account, as you can see. Here are my returns, so there's no fakery there. That can't be faked. And you know, you put your money into a regulated broker account, so what else do you need to know? That's it. You want to make money or don't you want to make money? So you could imagine what's going to happen to the business when that happens. So you are in a remarkable position with a remarkable company in a market that is remarkable, because it's perfect for what we're doing with CASHFX. So you've got everything there, you know, for you. So be a meaningful specific, you know, really work on that. You know, don't be sheepish or feel embarrassed about it. You are going to have what you want, and you're going to then go and make it happen. All right, so I hope you found today's call helpful. And as I said, we have these calls every Saturday. They're different topics every Saturday. We may be revisiting the Power Build system, which is the tool that really works for people. Again, the number of people in my team that are using the Power Build system that have really struggled before are now really building big teams by using the system. So, you know, if you don't know what that is, you need to get along to the Power Build library and start watching some of the videos and make sure that you and your team. And by the way, we've got, 250, 270 people on this call, which is fantastic. But we need to get more people on this call. You know, you and your teams need to be on these calls, because this knowledge that is being shared is incredibly powerful. This is wealth generation knowledge. You know, it's going to give you the knowledge you need to become successful in whatever, not just in this business, but in other businesses as well. You know, for example, Ray is very successful in traditional businesses outside of this as well. It's because of this mindset that you need to have to be successful. So this training is really powerful, not just for you, but for your team. If your team is trained as well, they're going to be able to achieve these things as well. So you want everyone from your business on these calls. They're really important. So thanks for listening in today, guys, and really enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you next weekend. Take care.